Hi, my name is Nikos Bafidis. This is a introduction tutorial to Microsoft Teams, mainly focused for educators which haven't used Teams before or they're very new to Microsoft Teams. And the whole idea of this introduction is basically to give people an understanding of what Teams is and how it can actually help them, especially in the classroom environment. So let's get started. First thing I want to show you, and I think the most important, is how easy it is to create a brand new team. So with Teams open, I'm actually going to be using the web browser for this tutorial. I'm going to go to join or create team. So when you open Microsoft Teams, you see something like this. And you can either join a team which somebody has already created, and they can send you a code, or if you want to create your own team, you're going to click here, create team, and you have a choice of team that you want to create. For example, if you want to do a classroom team where you have a teacher, or you can add more teachers and then your students. You can have your professional learning community team where you can share files and thoughts on professional learning. Staff members, where a department head can create a team for all the teachers in that department. You can share files, or you can create a team for anyone, teachers, students, all working together. This is actually very good for projects where school projects, let's say you're doing an environmental project as a school and you've got teachers and students working together. So I'm going to go ahead with a classroom team, and you simply give it a name. Now it's very important you give your teams appropriate names. If you don't, then as you start creating more and more teams, it's a little bit harder, especially as the years pass by, to know which team is for what. So I always like giving a year, for example, year 7 ICT, and then I like to put the year as well, the academic year 2018-19. Now this allows me to know that this is the year 7 ICT team, and I created it for the academic year 2018-19. So next year, if I have another year 7 group, which is ICT, that will be 2019-20. Okay, you can add a description. You can go to next, and here you will add your students. So you can just type in the student name or the email address, and you simply add them. If I've got the student here, so if I go to some fake students, STU1, I can see here my student 1, I click on them and I can click on add, and I can carry on typing student names. Now you can then go to teachers. If you've got another teacher that that might be teaching the same group, or you're sharing groups, or you just want other teachers like head of department to have access to your team, then you can add those teachers in as well. I'm just going to click skip. That's basically it. We've just created our team. Here it is down here. So I'm just going to drag this up and bring this up here so it's a bit more accessible. This is one that I've created, the teacher training one, which I'm going to be working with for this training, but I'm just going to minimize that now so we can see what a new team gives us. Basically, we've got the team name, we've got the ellipsis here, which allows us to manage our team. We can add new members, new students, or new teachers. You can add more channels. We're going to see this, basically the Gem Wizard channel. You can add more channels like I've done here. In this teacher training one, I've got a channel for practical and for theory. And we'll see channels in a second. So under the general channel, we have on the right hand side now the conversations area. Here, everybody in the team can collaborate and can type and share ideas or ask questions or respond to questions. I can just do welcome to our team, and basically everyone can see this and everyone can post to this. And also in the conversations, when you create assignments or you make some announcements, these can also be popped up into the general conversation area. Okay, so I think that's pretty much on the conversations, mainly for collaboration. The next one, I think a very important one, is files. So if we go to files, something which is really cool and has been added already in your file section is this class materials folder. Now you can see it's got a padlock on it. If I open this, I can add files to this. But right now what I'm going to do, I'm going to jump to this training one here, which I've prepared already. And I have some files in here. And I'm going to show you how to upload files as well. So from my general, I have my files, and let's click on that. And we can see here this padlocked folder here. Now, anything that you add to this section is locked from the students. They cannot delete it, they cannot edit it. They can download any files that you put in here, but they can't make changes to it. And this is good because the last thing you want is for you to add resource information there and some student going and deleting everything. So if I've got here a student teams open as well, which I've added to this team, so you can see the student environment also. Here it is here. You can see this is a student one. Okay, this is actually student one, I think. Yes, student one. Okay, so we can see they're part of this teams, and I've also added them to 2 other teams as well. So in the general section in files, they also have this padlocked area. And if I click on that, they can select the file, and at the top, they get their options. They can copy, they can download, get a link, so on and so forth. But they cannot delete. Now, this cannot be said if I go back to this main section. You can see these files here, which have also been added in the files section in the general channel. If I select this one, for example, they can actually delete this file. Okay, so you need to be careful. Now, there are ways where there is a way where you can actually lock the file section or any other section so the students cannot delete. They only have view access, but that's a different tutorial. You can PM me or send me a message and I can send you links to that also. Okay, so let me go back to the teacher's view, and I'm going to show you how we can just very quickly add files. So very simply, if I go to my files section, I'm here, I can create new, and from the new I can create a new folder or new Word document, an Excel file, PowerPoint. If I create, if I want to upload the file, I can simply click the upload and choose the file I want to upload from my device. I can also open a folder, and I want to demonstrate this to you. So here I've got a folder. These are just some C++ files. So in here we've got 3 files. Okay. Now here's something you should note. If you want to load, if I copy a folder over into my files section, I can actually just drag and drop, and we will see here it's actually uploading 3 files. Now what's important to know here is that if you upload a folder with files inside, it will not upload the file or the folder tree. It would only upload the files. So you can see that here is actually uploaded these files here for me, these 3 files, 1, 2, and 3. It didn't upload them inside the folder. So if you wanted to put them in a folder, the best thing would be to create the new folder, open that folder, and then drag the files in. As I said, there is another way, but that's another tutorial. You can actually drag a whole folder and all the contents and the subfolders can be placed in as well. But that's in a slightly more advanced training session. Okay, so let's have a look at see what I think makes Teams really amazing apart from the assignments section up here. It's really cool because once you've uploaded files, like I've done here, you can actually see the files. Any files, Word, PowerPoint, Excel, PDFs, all these different files, even this CPP file, if I click on it, I don't need to go to download this. The student doesn't need to go and download this to actually view it. Just by clicking on it, it actually opens the file in Teams. So they don't need to be going backwards and forwards from one program to another. If it's a PowerPoint presentation, they don't need to download the file, open PowerPoint, or go to the PowerPoint version online. It will open directly in Teams. I want to show you a couple examples of this. So if I close this one, here's a PowerPoint, for example. This is a PowerPoint, my starter slide. If I click on that, it actually opens PowerPoint in Teams. If it's a Word document, it will open in Teams. And this is really, really cool. Here's one more. This is a PDF. So again, you can see how easy this is and how useful this will be for students, where you can just put the material there and tell them click this and it will open that file type in Teams. They don't need to go from one application to another application and then to a different application or another website. Okay, next section, next part I want to show you is this tabs area here. So I'm just going to show you that very quickly before I go to the tabs. This is the student section. Okay, I'm just going to refresh this. So I'm actually in the student Microsoft Teams area now. I'm using a private window in Edge to do this. Okay, and just by refreshing this now, I should see all the new files which I uploaded, and they are now readily available for the students. So they also can simply click and it will open the files directly in Teams. Okay, isn't that just great? This is just amazing. So much easier than having them to download. Okay, so let me go back to the teacher section. All right, now I'm just going to delete these files so it doesn't get confusing for me. And I can just confirm there. Okay. Next, let's have a look at this up here, this plus sign where we've got these tabs. We've seen the conversations and files. Now, if the chances are you're going to have a lot of files in here, a lot of resource files, and every week or every so often you're going to be doing a different topic area with different resource material, different file types, PowerPoints, Word, Excel. And sometimes it can get confusing for students to find what they're looking for. So what you can do is you can add things that you want them to have quick access to, let's say the new topic or a new subject that you're doing that week. And by clicking add, I can add a new tab which can be any one of these applications here. So the main ones, the first ones are up here at the top. These are all Office apps which you can use, and also YouTube. I want to show you a demonstration of a couple of these. So I've already here uploaded my PowerPoint in my file section, and students can actually click on this and open it, but I want to make it quickly accessible from here. So I'm going to click on the tab and I'm going to say I want to add a PowerPoint, and it will automatically show me the file section in my Teams. It might be a file which is in a different team, so I can go see all my teams here and find the one that I'm working with, but in this case it's in here. And I'm going to select my PowerPoint, give it a name, Week 3 presentation, for example, save. And now the students at the top in the general section, they have this new tab and they can simply click on it. So they don't have to go to the file section, find the file that you want. Up here very quickly, you can tell them go to your Teams and we're going to Week 3 presentation. Click on that and it will open the presentation in there. And that could be absolutely anything. Let's say you want to add a resource material as well. Let's say a video on YouTube. I'll do that very quickly for you. What should we do? YouTube backing storage. So here's a video on backing storage. I've just a random search there. I'm going to go to YouTube. I'm going to simply click up here to copy this link. I'm going to right click, copy, and then I can close that, go to my Teams, add a new tab, and I'm going to say I want to add now a YouTube video. So I'm going to paste my link. As soon as I need to press enter, you can see the save is not there. As soon as I press enter, it should find, there you go, I can see the video I've got there, and click save. Now, if you have a video that you want the students to see, then all you have to do is just you put it up here in your quick tabs, and you can tell them to go and click on the link up here, and it will play the video directly from Teams. There's no need to tell them go to this URL, go for search for this and do this. That you have the videos all ready for you in Teams. Just amazing. Okay, so this one doesn't have any audio in there for work, does it? Nope, no audio on that one. So anyway, so you can upload any kind of YouTube video there as well. And then when you finish with that and you don't want this anymore, you can either store these away in your files, just leave them there, or you can, let me just stop that, click on the little arrow there and just remove that tab and it's gone. Let me do one more for you. Let's say a web page. So let's say, for example, go to Kahoot. Here's one of the student favorites. Okay, so first of all, what we want to notice here, it's a HTTPS Okay, it's a URL that starts with HTTPS, so it's secure. I'm going to click on this, and I'm going to copy that URL there. Now, if you've got the URL directly to a particular game that you're going to play, then you can add that. That's not a problem. And what I'm going to do now is I'll go to add website. I can call it out, so Kahoot, and paste my link here. Now you can see down here, make sure you're only linking to sites that start with HTTPS. That's very important and contain trustworthy web content. Okay, now I'm going to go to save, and what you've got now is another link up here. The URL automatically opens within Teams. There's no need for students to be coming out of Teams, opening a new tab, typing a URL, so you can put all the resources that you want in there. In fact, you can create a channel, a separate channel here with just web resources if you like. Okay, and as I said, there's so many different types of tabs that you can add in, and if you do actually try to add a tab and you can't find all of these options, it just means that your administrator needs to enable a setting from the tenant. Again, that's a slightly more advanced tutorial, but these should be available. Okay, so that's the tabs. These are very useful. I'm just going to delete these ones, show you very quickly. What is this? The week 3 presentation. I can click on the arrow, remove, just get rid of that one. And my URL and my Kahoot, sorry. So again, I can click on that, click on the arrow, and you see the good thing with this is because you can just add them and remove them each week. All the new resources that you want to use for the students or for your subjects, you can just add them as quick shortcuts up here very easily and then remove them. Okay, that's the file section, and we've talked about tabs. The next one I want to go over, which is assignments, probably one of the biggest areas of Microsoft Teams is the assignment section. Now, you can find the assignment section from the general tab only. So if I click on assignments, remember this is from the teacher end. We're going to have a look at both ends, the teacher and the student. So from here, very quickly, I can see that I can create. I'm going to show you how to create an assignment first. So it can either be a quiz or an assignment. A quiz would use Microsoft Forms. So if I was to do a new quiz, I can either search for a quiz which I've created in Microsoft Forms, or I can create a new one. Okay, new form, and you will add your questions, and it will automatically put that form as an assignment here. Again, forms is a different area to look into. If I was to create a new assignment, will be a piece of work where the students will have to complete, have it submitted. They can either submit it by creating a PowerPoint, a Word, an Excel. They might create it in their class notebook. Any kind of assignment, any kind of digital form, you can take a picture of it, an image, anything you want, anything you want them to submit to you to be marked. So very quickly, assign to teacher training. That's the name of our teams where we're assigning this assignment. Now, this is really important. If you want to have an inclusive classroom and you have some students which are special education needs, you don't want to stigmatize them, and you don't want to make them feel uncomfortable, feel that something might be too hard for them. You might have students which are on the other end, which are gifted students, and the assignment might not be enough to challenge them. So you can create an assignment and assign it to all the students, or you can choose which students to give this particular assignment to. So I've only got 5 students in this team. So if I wanted to say this was a general assignment and I'm going to assign it to everybody, I leave it there. If I wanted this assignment to be for slightly easier with a little bit more help for my students which are might have some learning difficulties, then I could say, for example, student 4 and student 5, and you see their tick there. So it says it's assigned to 2 students only. Now only these 2 students will see this assignment come up, and this allows you to have a non-stigmatized assignment where students don't actually know who's getting what, and they're marked individually, and their feedback is individual as well. Title, back in storage. Would help. There you go. I'm one of these students. I am dyslexic, by the way, so this would have been amazing for me when I was a student, but unfortunately dyslexia wasn't really recognized then. You might want to give some instructions. Give examples of backing storage for creating long-term backup. Explain. Okay, just very quickly. And if you want to add any resources, you might have a piece of documentation. You might want to add a file. You might want to add a link to a web page where they will get information, or you want them to get resources from a particular website. You can do that from here. And now you've got your due date when this assignment is due. So I'm going to put this due on, let's say, the 12th of Wednesday, 12th of June on a Wednesday, and the time when it's supposed to be due, I'm going to say by 12 midday. Now, scheduled to assign later. Now, if I leave this like this here now, they will actually see this assignment pop up, and they will know they have this assignment, and they could probably get started with it. If I don't want them to start with it now, I don't want them to know, and I want to prepare my assignments from beforehand and say, I want this to be enabled on the 8th of June, so they won't see this until the 8th of June until 9 o'clock in the morning. Okay, so you can plan ahead this way. Late hand-in allowed. Well, if you're going to allow them to have a late hand-in, then you can do this here. You can click that on. If no late hand-in allowed, then you just remove that. Points. Are there points? So if there are points, you can click on that and say this is marked out of, let's say, 60 marks. And here's a really cool one. Now this is just a total game changer, rubrics. So you can create rubrics to grade your papers. And if you don't know what a rubric is, let me just show you here. I've got a rubric here. Some of my students had to create tutorials on how to use certain software in OneNote. And I created this rubric to help me mark it. So let's have a look at it. So if I add that there. Now what it's done is added this rubric. Now the rubric is this. I give it a name, description, so creating tutorials in OneNote on various practical components required for ICTI GCSE. And then I've got my grading system. Above expectations. So here's the section that I'm marking here. The use of screenshots are key to creating easy to follow tutorial. So if they've done appropriate cropped screenshots, added annotated graphics using the pen tool, images are relevant to the explanation and are positioned in a manner making it easy to follow the tutorial, then they will get 5 marks for this section. If they're just meeting expectations, let's say that's 4 marks. That just means appropriate screenshots added and emerging no screenshots added, some kind of visual only. And that will mark for this section here. And I said this is 40%. So if my grading system is out of 60, this would be 40% of that 60. Then the next category will be text used to explain actions. Your tutorial should be short but precise. A careful balance should be maintained between not enough information and too much information. So this is what they will do. This is what I would expect to see if they get full marks. Okay, so 5. Descriptions are well structured and relevant, and you can just add more of these there. Now, if I attach this now to this assignment, it means it's added this rubric. Now, the good thing about rubrics is that you can create a new rubric and you can add it to as many assignments as you want. For example, let's say you're a language teacher and you do essays. Then usually for your essays, you have a fixed rubric. And I don't know much, as I said, dyslexia, I'm not that good with languages, but if you think about an essay will contain an introduction and you will give certain marks, or what you would expect a very good introduction to be, a medium introduction and a not so good introduction, and the reasons why. And you can create this general rubric for essays. So whenever you're going to assign an essay, you can just add that rubric and it will do the grading for you. You will just simply click what you think in which band of that rubric each section belongs to, and it will automatically calculate the percentage and the marks and everything for you. So an absolute game changer there. Okay, so that's rubrics, and once you've done that, you can save this. If you save it, it hasn't been assigned. If you schedule it, then it will be assigned. Okay, so it says schedule here because I put it to be scheduled later. If I didn't schedule it for later, so if I remove that, then it says assign. If I say assign, students will see it immediately. So I'm just going to add student 1 to this as well, because I've got student 1 open. And there we go. So that's 3 students, and I'm going to click assign. And I've actually assigned this assignment to my students. And there you go. I've just got the notification that something's been given out. So if I go to my student 1, there you go. The student now has assignments back in storage. Due date is January 12th. And if I go to my conversations, you can see all the things that I've been doing just now for this presentation. They've been added one by one. Can you see that? The Kahoot page and everything. Okay, so these are all storage device exit ticket. So everything gets added in your conversations. So if we go to assignments, the student now for this team, you can see I've got this notification there as well. This student has got 3 assignments to do. One for the 4th of June, 6th of June, and 12th of June. And here's the one. No, here's the one here, back in storage, 12th of June. Actually, let me click on it. So there we go. I can actually see the information, and once I've done my work and I want to submit my work, I can click here, add my work. So let's say I've done this in my Word document, or and I've said in OneDrive or PowerPoint or whatever. I can just say upload files from this device. So I've got it saved. If they're on my OneDrive, I can get them from OneDrive. I'm just going to upload a file, so I'm going to click here, upload from this device, and just add. Oh, that's just the background for logos. CMS updates, firmware updates, leaflet. There's a leaflet there. So let's say I created this and I've made it a PDF. It could be a PowerPoint or whatever, and just click open. And there it is. I'm the student, and I'm actually uploading my work right now to my teams in the assignment section. So I can see the loading bar there. And then once this is loaded, I can click hand in, and the teacher will actually see that I've handed in the work. So that's going to take a bit of time to load up. So I'm just going to pause this. Okay, so that's just uploaded there now. Okay, so there's my PDF. This is my work, and I'm going to click on hand in. Oh, look, I get a nice little animation there as well. Woohoo. Okay, gone. I can also undo the hand in. Let's say I've changed my mind. I want to make some adjustments, and I just want to hand it in again later. Then I can undo hand in, and I can modify this, delete this, and then simply upload it again. So if I go back to the teachers section, this is what the teacher will see. So the teacher goes to general, assignments. There we go. Okay, so now here's the actual assignment. You can see 1 out of 3, because remember 3 students were assigned this. 1 out of the 3 has submitted. I can go here. If I now go to review, okay, I've got 1 person has viewed, 1 person handed in, and I've got 1 to review. So it's only 1. We're going to see some of these being different in a minute. So test student 1 has turned in. So I can click on test student 1. I can give them some feedback on this. Okay, so feedback on their general work here. So I could just, let's say I've read this and I've done the feedback. And now if I want to, some fast typing there. Now, if I want to grade this using my rubric, it's got here tutorials. Here's the name of the rubric that I've got. I click on that. And this is number 1. So the use of screenshots are key, blah, blah. So above expectation, 5 points, 4 points, or 2 points. So reading this, I can say, okay, that's medium. Okay, I can give feedback on this particular section. So needed more screenshots, for example, just for that question. Okay, then I can go to the next one. Text used to explain actions. Let's say they did excellent descriptions there. I'm not going to give feedback on that one, but I can. So I only had 2 rubric sections. So if I had more, I'd be able to do more. The total is 92 out of 100, and I'm done. So I've given feedback on the overall of this assignment, and I've given feedback on each individual section. It's now got the grade, and it's also got the feedback, and the student also knows where they've lost marks and why they've lost marks. So if we go back to the student, okay, the student, when they were doing this assignment, they had this here, the rubric, and they can actually see what they're going to get marks for. So this is great. They know what the expectations are. They know what they have to do to get maximum marks for this assignment. So there are no excuses saying, well, I didn't know how to do this, I didn't know how to do that. And the really good thing is, once you've created the rubric for a particular type of assignment, you can use it again and again and again, and making your marking so much easier. So you don't have to wait until the deadline to receive 24 papers to mark. If some students finish a bit earlier, you can start marking them, and it just reduces the workload, and you don't have to program hours of time during your day or your week just to do marking for 20 odd papers. So as they start coming in, you can start marking them. It just relieves that workload tremendously. Okay, so I used a rubric which I already had created. I didn't show you how to create a rubric. I'll just show you that very quickly. So from your assignments, if you're going to create a new assignment from the teacher area, I'm in assignments. If I go to create a new assignment, down here it says add rubric, and I can add an existing rubric. I can also choose to create a new rubric. And by clicking on that, you can give it a title, a description, and then you can start adding the different criteria. For example, what you mean by excellent. You can use the default words, excellent, good, and fair. I use exceeding expectations, meeting, and anything else that you want to use. And then you can add your description, and then what the criteria is for excellent, what the criteria is for good, and then you can just keep adding more areas that you want to be marking. So it could be the introduction of an essay, the body, you want to add a conclusion, reasoned answers, entirely up to you. So it is a good idea to really think out your rubric. If you've already got one on paper that you use, here's a good opportunity. Make it digital. You can use it again and again. Now, what you can't do yet, or at least you couldn't, let me just check, from your rubric. Oh, yes, you can. I think you can. Right, there you go. So are you sure you want to discard tutorials in OneNote? This is another rubric I had. Before we couldn't delete, well, now we can. So let me just make sure that works. Yes, you can. So now I've only got one. So yes, you can add rubrics, you can delete them. So plan a good rubric for a particular assignment type and use it again and again. All right, now sticking with assignments, I want to show you a couple of more things which I think are really, really cool. If I go to the student section, okay, now currently if I'm in the general, under assignments, there we go. Okay, so what the student sees here is the assignments that has been assigned to the student by the teacher for this team only, the teacher training one. We can see that this student is also a member of this IGCSE Option 1 2020 team and this Alice Envisions the Future 2018 team. Now these teachers here might have given assignments as well. Now you can say it's quite easy, you know, simply click on the team, go to general and go to assignments. But that makes tracking of assignments quite difficult for a student. They want to know what they have for each day in one go. And the trick is, from here on the left hand side, we've got these shortcuts. Now these are not team specific. In other words, this assignments button is not specific to this team which I've got open. It is specific to all the teams that the student is a member of. So if I click on assignments here, as a student, I can now see all the assignments which have been assigned to me by all the teams which I'm a member of. For example, this one here, it says I didn't hand it in, and it was for the IGCSE Option 1 2020 team. This is from the teacher training team, and this is due on the 4th of June. This one's due on the 6th of June. Again, there we go, teacher training team. This one is another one from the IGCSE group, on storage devices and access types. This is due on the 10th of June. So very easily, the student can see all the assignment which that student has to do. So if all the teachers teaching that child has a Microsoft Teams, the student has a timetable, a diary automatically created. You've got different views. This is a list view. You've got a grid view as well. And I can see here for this week, I've got an assignment due on the 4th and on the 6th. And what assignment it is. And I can actually go to that assignment. There you go. That's my next week. I can actually go to the assignment simply by clicking on the assignment there. And it will take me automatically to that. And I think that's, again, a wonderful feature for Microsoft Teams. All the assignments in one place as a diary. Parents can even say to children, open up your Teams, let me see what's been assigned to you. And in exactly the same way, we've got the same feature available for teachers as well. So if I go to the teacher view here, there we go. If I just go back to, well, it doesn't really matter. If we look on the left hand side, I've got the same kind of shortcut menu. So I'm going to show you a little tip here. You can see the assignments button here, but if you zoom into, there you go. If I can zoom my browser in, and you can see some of these buttons here vanishing. They're actually under the ellipses tab here, so you can actually find it here. Now, I say this because some teachers have come back to me and said, well, I don't have the assignments button at all. So if I just zoom out, you can actually see them pop up. And anything else that you want, there we go, will be under the ellipses. Okay, so for the same for the teacher, if I'm in the general section here, let me just discard that one, and I go to assignments, I see the assignments which I've assigned only for this Teams, for the students in this Teams. But if I click on assignments here, I will be able to see all the assignments that I've assigned to all the teams which I've assigned assignments to. So if we have a look, wait for that to load. So here we go. So these are all the assignments which I've given to the teacher training teams, the IGCSE team, the year 9 team. Okay, so I've also got, and again, I can click on this here and see what's due in every week. So as an educator, I also know what assignments I'm expecting to be receiving from the students and from which class. So again, a nice little touch there as well. One feature in assignments I forgot to show you is this one here, and I really do like this one. So let's take this assignment here. Now you can access your assignment from either the assignment section here or from the assignment section in a particular team. But if you click on an assignment and go to review, which is where you would go to mark the assignments, at the top here we can see this little analysis here. So I can see here who's turned it in already, and if I've given feedback, this is actually a quiz from Form, so it's actually marked it automatically for me. But I can see here that 4 students out of the 5 have actually viewed that they have this assignment to do. Only 1 has handed it in. So if I click on this, I can actually see the 4 students that have actually seen they had an assignment to do, but they didn't do it. They haven't turned it in yet. So this is a really lovely feature because there are no excuses. Sir, I didn't know I had an assignment, or I didn't see the assignment, because you know they've actually clicked on the assignment and seen the assignment. So again, a very nice feature there. It will tell you how many more you have left to review. I've got this one here, so they submitted it. It's a quiz. They've got their grade, but I haven't given any feedback yet. So it says here, no feedback provided. So I can go and give feedback if I wanted to. Now you can see it's opening the form, and I can now see the student's response. There we go. So these are all the ones you see, it's auto marked, and for each question I can give feedback individually there, and here it actually tells the student what they actually did wrong. So I could just give simple feedback there. Oops, answer is magnetic. And that's not really feedback, but just to see that you can give feedback on each question. And then you can close. So really cool thing there, who's viewed it and who's actually turned it in. All right, now then, the last thing I want to go over before looking at Class Notebook in Teams is basically channels. So if I go to a Teams, there we go. So we can see here that in a team that we start off initially, we only have one channel. That's the general channel. This is the one that we created at the beginning of this tutorial. You may want to add more channels. Now, I do stress restraint here. From what I've seen, educators will either create too many channels and then it's hard to keep a track of where everything is, or they only keep just the one general channel and everything goes inside there. So a little bit of planning does actually help, and a bit of trial and error is always going to be the case. Each channel you create, and you can create a channel simply by clicking on the ellipses next to the team's name there. And you can see here we've got add channel, and if I click on add channel, it will simply create a new channel here. You can give it a name, sample. Let's call it sample. You can write a description what that channel's about, click add, and that's basically it. You've now got a channel. Another one. I've got this sample one here now. And every channel will have the conversations, the files, and the notes automatically in. You can add new tabs at the top, just like we did before. In the files section, you can add the files. What I have seen some educators do is use channels for chapters, and that doesn't really help so much. Because you've got the conversations then, and then you've got, for example, in this team now, I've got conversations, 4 different types of conversations, one for general, practical, sample, and theory. So if you're going to create another channel, my opinion would be to create new channels only for something which is like a totally separate unit in your subject. Let's say they're going to do a big project at the end of the year, or they've got another side project that they do for your class. You can create a channel, and the conversations in that channel will be focused for that project only, and the files are only for that project. You can, of course, in your general, have your subfolders in the file section and have all the different chapters that you want there separated in folders. You can have all the other items that you want in your subject separated in folders. But if you make too many channels, it's really kind of hard to keep a track of where you are. And this practical and theory one that I did as well, I think that should also be under the general in the files and call one folder practical and the other one called theory. If you want to delete the channel, again from the ellipses, you just click on it and you can delete this channel. Okay, so as I do say, planning is everything, and you will make mistakes, and you will realize that next time you're going to do something, you're going to do it a little bit different. Remember, you can create a team which has no students and no teachers, and that could be your template. And in the future, when you're going to use that template, you can add teachers and students to that team later on, so you can duplicate that team. So next, we're going to look at Class Notebook. Now, Class Notebook is a section of its own. I've got plenty of tutorials on Class Notebooks, but I want to show you how Class Notebook can be incorporated in Microsoft Teams. From your general section here, if you click on Class Notebook, as soon as you create a team, basically, and as soon as you click on Class Notebook is generated for the class immediately. So any teachers that you've added to the teams will be added as teachers in the Class Notebook, and any students that you've got added in the teams will be given a student section in that Class Notebook. So and again, you see I've clicked on Class Notebook and it's opened my Class Notebook in Teams. There's no need for them to go out of Teams and then go to Class Notebook and open the appropriate notebook and go to the right section. So you can work Class Notebook directly from Teams, although I have to admit it's not as complete as it would be if you're using the Windows 10 app for OneNote. If I have a look here, this is my welcome. I can click here very easily, and there we go. This is my OneNote. I've got my welcome page where I can put different things in there to welcome the students to OneNote, maybe some resource material, syllabus, the course content. I've got the collaboration space. In the collaboration space, you can have different conversations and have different sections here where things that you're going to be collaborating on. The content library, probably the most important part when it comes to Class Notebooks, but not so much needed if you're using Teams, because you probably have all the resource material that you want in Teams rather than putting things in your Class Notebook. But if you want to create assignments to be submitted in Teams. So you've got them in the Teams section. You can have assignments added in here, which students can copy paste into their work area and complete. One thing I do like using is this. I use in the content library, I have a lesson progress. And this is basically like, let me just click over here. This is like an online diary of everything that I do in class. And I normally post these before the lesson. So if I give you a small example here, on the 14th of February, we were going to do, because there was a power outage, I said we were going to start working on networks. And here are some of the keywords we were going to be looking at: bus, ringer, start topologies. I like adding terminology, and I like adding the terminology in this diary before the lesson, because this really helps students which English might be their second language. They might not be, they might have like learning difficulties. It gives them an opportunity to see what we're going to be doing in class before class. And that just really boosts their confidence level in class, because they've already done a little bit of reading, or you would hope they have. And they come to class feeling more confident. They come with questions. They will participate in the class rather than just hide away in the back of the classroom and try to be invisible. So this has really helped my students tremendously. Try to post these things up before your lesson. Give them a week or a few days in advance so that they can become familiar on what we're going to do. And it's also a method of backwards teaching as well. You might want to put the resources or the PowerPoint, get them to have a look at the PowerPoint you're going to be using in class before lesson, so they know what they're doing. You might want to give them a short quiz from the assignments in Teams based on that PowerPoint, so you know they've actually had a look at it. Nothing too difficult though. So yeah, this is an absolute game changer for me. I do this with all my classes. I have this running diary. It helps me keep track of what I've done and what I need to do. And if I haven't managed to finish something, you know, I'll just come back and make a note of it and just continue the next week and make a note of that there. So that's one thing. Again, in your content library, you might want to put, I like doing this as well. I produce checklists. And my checklists basically are things that we're going to be learning, or if we finish the component, they can copy this in their area. Let me show you a small example. So if I go to student 1, they've copied this checklist into their area, because in the content library they cannot make changes. So okay, so this is the web page design checklist. This is the tutorial that they had to create in OneNote. So this was an assignment which I gave to them. They had to create a tutorial on different things that they should be able to do in Microsoft Word. Okay, and they would do this, and I will give them feedback on this and probably give them a grade in their Teams as well. So when they submitted this, they will submit the link to this page. All right, so the checklist, again, an excellent little tool you can use. Okay, and this student has actually done more than making a checklist. They've ticked things off, and they've actually added little annotations, how to do the different things that they ticked off. So this is a really good example of using the checklist properly. So it gives them a reminder of how to do things later when they need to revise. Okay, so checklists are very, very good. And again, what else I like doing with my class notebook, I like creating a feedback section. And in that feedback section, that's private to the student because it's in their own area, and I will give them feedback every so often based on their performance, how they're doing, give them some formative feedback, whether it's on their test or just general feedback. And this will be per student. I might not give feedback to everybody. I might just give feedback to someone who's done really well or shown a lot of initiative, or someone who's been falling behind on their work, and I just want to let them know, rather than doing a general report kind of feedback. So that feedback section in a student area, I think, is absolutely key. And that's about it. I'm not going to go too much more into a class notebook. That's a totally different section. What else do I have? Video tutorials here. Okay, yep. All right. So in you can add video tutorials. I like creating video tutorials in, as I've done with this video tutorial, I upload them to my account, and then students can actually go and click on these. Let's say they want to see how to do access import table from CSV, and it will actually play the video, and they use these for revision exercises. So when they want to remember how to do things in different things that I've taught them, they can actually come back, and usually in the form of a PowerPoint, and I usually have videos inside that PowerPoint. So again, very, very useful. There we go. So I've got here, what do I have here? So this one's just a video. And some things, if it's an introduction, I would use a PowerPoint to give an introduction before the video. And I tend to solve past papers with them. You can do this in PowerPoint, by the way. PowerPoint Mix is absolutely superb. It's a lovely piece of equipment, and it really, really helps. Really does.
Okay,
so nice.
So let's have a look at extracts and how we can export. And I multiplied that
there we
by
go. Okay.
The
So basically, this is just another video tutorial which I give to my students. I do find video tutorials being very, very beneficial. Okay, I think we're done. I don't think there should be anything else included in this introduction tutorial. It's quite long as it is. So you've got my details. They'll follow at the end of this video. If you want to contact me and you want any more tutorials which I may have, I can give you access to, feel free to contact me.